Joe is building this great plumbing business, and suddenly he notices the global financial crisis. He notices that all his competitors are actually discounting. Now, Joe's a pretty hard worker, Michael, because unlike his corporate job, he's not working 40 hours a week. He's actually working 70 hours a week. Because when he actually works, he works on the tools, but you know what he has to do? He has to go home and he has to do all the bookwork. He has to actually pay for all the supplies. He has to manage his team. So he's actually working 70 hours a week. But Joe then starts to figure his competitors are dropping their prices. So Joe gets really angry and says, I'm not only going to match them, I'm going to beat them. Now let's just take that philosophy and let's see the damage that philosophy does in your business. Because there is an old saying in business, and I live by this saying. The saying is, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, cash flow is reality. And what I'm saying is, let's just have a look at Joe, and let's just say Joe, he's got this business and his gross margin is 30%. So the difference between cost and sell is 30%. He then decides, he gets up in the morning and he says, I'm going to be the cheapest in the marketplace, because he thinks he just has to increase turnover. And he decides to reduce his prices by 10%. That act alone means that Joe, who is working 70 hours a week, has to increase his sales by 50% to keep the same gross profit. Joe has now cracked a century. He is now working 105 hours a week. If his marriage is not in disarray, it's in destruction now. And this is what happens, Michael. It's insane. And this is what concerns me about coming out of a recession or even going into a recession, is that people focus too much on turnover and not focus on profitability and cash flow. They get trigger happy, they actually jump, and they start discounting because everyone else is discounting. Because they haven't done any marketing, they're reliant on price. And because they focus on price, their business closes down because they can't sustain that model in the long run.
So you really want them to increase prices?
I think you have to increase your prices. There's a couple of reasons why. Number one, let's just say the inflation rate is 4%. What should you be at a minimum increasing your prices by? The inflation rate. So in very real terms, if you are not increasing your prices by the CPI, in real terms, you're going backwards. So the first thing I would get is that I must increase my prices at least by the CPI rates. But the key is, how do I increase my prices? And what are some very important marketing elements that I can use to create perception? So because people buy value for money, they don't buy the cheapest. How do I create value so I can increase my prices? And I just want to give the listeners 6 really simple strategies or tips.
Okay, so where do we start?
Number 1, have a unique selling proposition. A unique selling proposition means that you stand out from the crowd. A unique selling proposition says, in a mirror of 30,000 competitors out in the marketplace, what makes you stand out? The best way of developing a unique selling proposition is solve the customer's problems. You know, 20 years ago, Michael, there was a very famous unique selling proposition that transformed the entire pizza industry. This pizza company was number 3. It was called Domino's. Do you know Domino's?
Sure.
Now, Domino's was a very, very small company, and it's a great story because it highlights the power of a unique selling proposition. The owner of Domino's kept on picking up the phone, and you know what the first request of most of the customers was? Not the quality of the pizza. How long does it take to be delivered? Okay, now this is 20 years ago. This is in America. Most of the people who were phoning up were actually out on a big night in town. They've just come home. They can't drive. You know what they're doing? They're famished. They are starving. They don't care about the quality of the pizza. Their first question is, how long? You know what he did? He said, my only challenge now is to solve that problem. And if I can solve that problem and I can market that problem, I can become the number 1 pizza company. And you know how they did it? They offered one unique selling proposition. They had it for 9 years, Michael. It was such a dominant message. It creamed the competition. You know what it was? 30 minutes or it's free.
Right. Point number 2.
Educate your customers on value, not on price. Educate your team on value, not on price. Allow your team not to be order takers, but to be problem solvers. Show them the inherent value in doing business with you. So I would train your customers and I would train your team. Number 3, warranty and guarantee. One of the fundamental strategies of how you can increase your prices is sell an intangible. For example, did you know that in any electrical retailer, where the real money is made now is not selling the fridge? It is selling the extended warranty. Okay, they make more money out of selling the extended warranty than they do on the fridge.
Is that right?
Okay, and why are they doing that? Because they're realising that once you've bought the product, you are open up to the possibility of actually buying something else. It's the same principle that McDonald's do when they say, do you want fries with that? And 50% of people say yes. So I reckon you've got to add an intangible to your business to increase the price, to have a real profitable area of your business. It might be a warranty, it might be a guarantee, it might be a finance package where you're making money out of that finance. There are many, many options there. Number 4, stock higher price products. I'll tell you why you want to stock higher price products. Not because you want to sell them. But here's what happens, Michael. Let's just say you came in to my establishment and I had a very high price product and I showed you that one first. Here's what happens. You go, no, I can't afford that, Tony. Then I say to you, you don't want the cheapest, do you, Michael? You go, no. Guess which one you buy? The one in the middle.
Number 5.
Status symbols. What I'm suggesting is that you've got to create an aura around your product. You've got to become the Apple. You've got to become the Sony, where there is an aura, there is a perception, there is an emotional attachment. People are not buying the product, they're buying what the product represents. Why? Because the brand reflects their values. It reflects their personality. It is a status symbol in a society that craves to be famous.
Number 6.
Number 6 is create a quality image. But your image is not just your marketing literature. It's your speech. It's the way you pick up the phone. It's your uniform. It's the haircut of your staff members. It's the breath that they have. It's everything, because to me that is marketing. The marketing is the 3-second rule. The 3-second rule is I will make a determination whether I'll buy from you from the first 3 seconds of that interaction. The key question is, how is that interaction occurring, and what is the perception that the customer is getting during those first 3 seconds?